Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors on Monday, March 9th, 2026. Our first order of business tonight is to go into closed meeting. Be it resolved, the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby enters into closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following. Section 2.2-3711. 1. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. 1. Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, we are in closed meeting. Okay, is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grasky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and now we certify the closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fizikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grasky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, our next item of business is a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Angie Hill.
Please rise as you're able for a moment of silence and then join me as I lead us in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We have several presentations tonight. The first presentation on our agenda was a presentation of a resolution for the American Red Cross, proclaiming March 2026 as American Red Cross Month. Unfortunately, the representative from the American Red Cross was not able to be here tonight, so we're just going to take this opportunity to again just reiterate that March 2026 is American Red Cross Month. And then the next item that we have for a presentation is from the Virginia Department of Transportation. We have David Clark from VDOT here to give us some updates on road projects in the county. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here tonight.
It's always good to be here. A couple updates from the last month, and they're still not out of all the snow for this past month. So we had about 10 days or so where we had to do some responding one way or another. A lot of it was just being there. We had a lot of forecasts that called for rain or mixed with snow at the 33 degrees. And we had a Monday with some flash freezing in the morning and just a couple kind of lingering, annoying things that kept us from getting any kind of other kind of work done, but we had to be ready in case it did turn into something. But on the days we weren't, we were out patching potholes and picking up dead deer, basically. I think northern half of the county counted 27 deer they've picked up and one coyote. I won't go into all the roads we've patched. We've been working mostly on primaries, but they have gotten a good number of secondary roads. Done some patching on, some ditching on Happy Hollow Road, shoulder repair on Ellett, Tyler, also some unpaved road. This time of year, we tend to haul stone to some of the gravel roads because we push it off during the winter. Actually has a term called maintenance replacement stone, so we're replacing a lot of the stone that was pushed off in the winter. We did it on Poff School Road, Gold Rush in the southern half of the county. Also some pothole patching on Roanoke Road and on Piney Woods. And that's it for the update. Like I said, it's been a little bit of catch up, a little bit of snow here and there, or at least threat of winter weather, and catching up on some of the other things.
Do you have a crystal ball? Do we have any more snow coming?
Well, I always
Have
say
you
no,
taken the plows
and I'm
off?
always wrong. I always call first nice day, I said, that's it, winter's over, and I'm generally wrong.
Well, let's see if anybody has any questions. We'll start Supervisor Karan.
I have a quick question, a citizen question. When you go up Preston Forest, when it turns to Jefferson Forest Lane, after the Top Rush Mountain Trail. The double yellow line don't continue, and she claims, she lives on Jefferson Forest, that there were double yellow lines in the middle of the road, but then after the asphalting is done at one point, the double yellow line never came back.
There has been a deliberate reduction in the number of
Okay.
miles that we do. We've gone back to, basically, it's just a strict adherence to what's been our policy. If it doesn't have 500 vehicles a day, it's getting to be where we couldn't even keep up with repainting center lines on roads that meet the policy, and it's happened in every county. I can double check the traffic count, but it's probably done intentionally.
Yeah, obviously, it's not a, well-traveled road, except
Right.
those people over there, but she claims some folks drives like it's just a, one-way street, that you don't have to be on
Mm-hmm. It would,
one side or the other.
For the width, as long as you have the right width, center line is probably beneficial on any road wide enough.
Just to keep
But
you-
we have to go by traffic count just because of the volume
Sense.
and our inventory and workload.
Sure, thank you.
Supervisor Grafsky. Supervisor Biggs.
I've already asked about a tree situation on Colback Hollow that you're still working on, so
Still
I'll
gonna try to
report
get-
that
yeah.
back. Hopefully get that taken care
I
of.
hope it doesn't come to me out there with a pole saw.
But it might.
know.
Thank you, and thanks for being here.
Supervisor King.
Appreciate y'all working on a lot of roads in my district. I've seen a lot of potholes being filled. And Paul School Road, I appreciate you working on that one. And have you been out Camp Curry Brook?
I've not, no. It's
If you
good.
look at that one, I sure would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Kitts.
I haven't asked this question in a while. You've updated me without asking, but the status of the contract for the flashing light as you come up towards the arsenal.
I don't know when they start. It's part of probably, I don't know how many, there's several, maybe 4 in the district, but it's getting ready, it'll start this summer.
Okay.
Or this spring.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I'll get more because that has been let. I'll find out what their schedule is.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair Fitchikowski.
Yeah, that's every time the snow melts and disappears, the potholes come out. So there's a really big one that's on Allegheny Springs Road, just north of Sisson Hall, which is a private road. It's fairly large. And then there's several of them along the bluffs there, the cliff along the river that have opened up. Some in the lane, some right on the center line. So if they could just check that area.
We'll be around to all of it. And I looked up, actually, I drove Hastings. You had asked about Hastings and its qualification for being on the 6-year plan. It looked like a good road when I drove down it, a good candidate, but the traffic count is not 50. We can try them again. It would be several years before we got to it, even if you put it on the plan now. But it seemed to have quite a few houses for just, I think it was only like a quarter of a mile long road.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you remembering that.
Yeah, and that's the 50 is for using unpaved road allocation. It can be paved with other funding. Unfortunately, there isn't any other free funding really for the county. In other words, it could be a revenue sharing project sometime in the future if the traffic count isn't there. And we used to do quite a bit of revenue sharing paving of unpaved roads in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I'll try to get back in touch with the citizen. I'm thinking that he didn't know what the process was and what the requirements were. He may be satisfied with that, and maybe would be willing to wait a couple years to see something change. So
Yeah, we'll
touch
check the
base.
traffic counts again.
okay, thank you.
Okay, did that bring up anything for anybody else? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time tonight, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and our next presentation is from the New River Valley Home Builders Association. We have the Home Builders Association President, Mr. Ian Friend, with us here this evening, and they're going to go over some housing trends. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair DeMonts. Thank you, Supervisors. My name is Ian Friend. As April mentioned, I'm the current president of the New River Valley Home Builders Association and the chair of the Government Affairs Committee. With me today is Steve Simonis. He's a past president of the association and also on the committee. The New River Valley Home Builders Association represents home builders, anything to do with home building, insurance agents, attorneys, banks, et cetera. Any member business that has to do with home building or owning a home, that's who we represent. I've printed out the slides for you all today. On the back is a little cheat sheet. I may get a little technical in some of my terms, so I've explained some of the terms in the back if you get any confusion. And then if you have any questions during it, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm here today to talk about local housing. Housing has long been identified as a key issue in our area. There are a lot of pressure points and key items resulting in our current housing landscape. We're going to talk about national state trends. You're going to see a lot of data from NAHB. NAHB is the National Association of Home Builders. It's our national arm. It represents us in a lot of ways, but for this purpose, they have a team of people that collect data related to housing and analyze it and create it in these charts you're going to see. I polled our members and builders and developers to get local examples of costs and how they've changed over the past 10 years and how the market has changed. And then finally, I don't want to just throw a bunch of housing expensive at you. I want to end with what are we doing from a legislative stance on how to resolve some of these issues and what can we do locally to resolve some of these issues. First, this first slide kind of shows inflation. We hear the word inflation a lot. It's kind of stabilized recently. But what we don't think about is since 2020, cumulative inflation has been up to 27.5% overall. So that's almost a 28% increase in goods and services since 2020, which is pretty large. Can't talk about housing without talking about mortgage rates. We're never going to see that 3 to 4% we saw in 2020, 2021 again. We're hoping it goes down. NHB kind of sees it stabilizing in the next few years to around just under 6%. And I think a lot of people are waiting for the decrease to purchase a home. And the NHB just doesn't forecast that. We're seeing it kind of stabilize. You're going to see the word Blacksburg MSA. That's just what the national calls our area, New River Valley. That's Montgomery County. It's parts of Giles, parts of Pulaski, and parts of Floyd, that kind of populative area. So since 2000, housing price has gone up 174%. Since the recession, it's gone up 91%. And since COVID, we've seen a 55% increase in housing costs. What does that mean for normal people? That means that they're spending about 5 times their annual household income on housing, whereas in the 90s, early 80s, early 2000s, it was about 3 times. So we've seen a significant increase there. That results in a reduction in home ownership rate. Early 2000s, we saw a 69% home ownership rate. There was some variability in 2020 with those low interest rates, but overall, we've seen a decrease to 65% within the last year. Now, what's causing all that? Cost of building materials. So this chart in the red shows between 2020 and 2024 how some of these materials have gone up. Lumber has gone up 8%, concrete 33%, pretty large. Steel, while not used residentially a lot, does have some applications, 77%. Back in the day, electrical companies would come in at a discounted rate to bring in the infrastructure because you were providing them customers. But now, where power and distribution transformers and parts have gone up 72%, we're seeing a lot of that cost get passed on to the builder and then to the homeowner. Gypsum building materials, so that's drywall, up 48%, brick, 29%, and other inputs in residential goods up 30%. Cumulatively, this is a huge cost increase for builders and homeowners. Now, locally, regulatorily, what are we seeing? NHB calculates that due to regulatory costs, there's about $93,870 per new home that can be attributed to regulations. So that's, during development, that's traffic studies, environmental studies, impact fees. That's about $11,791 per house. Land that's dedicated to open space, while important, does have a value, so that's about $10,854 and other setbacks and things. During construction, you have connection fees, inspection fees, that's about $12,184 per lot. And over the past 10 years, we've seen huge increases to building codes due to energy efficiency, improved equipment, et cetera. Well, all good, they all have costs, right? And that's about $24,144 per home, excuse me. Overall, we're kind of seeing that due to all these regulations, we're seeing increase in costs from 2016 to 2021 of 11%, overall to $93,870. Now, What can be made more efficient? What regulatory burden could be reduced to help drive down costs? Obviously, there are some state and national things we can't change. But from a local level, what can we look at to reduce costs? Can we reduce fees, connection fees, rezoning, over-stringent stormwater regulations? Are there things we can look at to help reduce the cost burden to homeowners? So I talked about local data. We polled our members and said, what's it cost to build multifamily? What's it cost to build single-family and townhome lots around the area? This slide pertains to multifamily. The light blue is a cost per bed, and the dark blue is a cost per bed, and the light blue is a cost per unit. There's a project in 2013 at 911 beds that was built for $50,000 a bed, about $180,000 a unit. Just 7 years later, 209 bed project, 109 unit, see that per bed cost almost double, $98,438. And the unit price about the same, but since that first project was mostly beds, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Just 2 years later, a 423 bed project, we see that cost per bed go up another $20,000, and we see the unit price skyrocket, about $60,000, $70,000 unit per cost increase there. So builders looked at it and said, what can we do to simplify building? What can we do, garden style, minor amenity? What can we do to reduce the cost? 2026 project, 216 beds, $123,000 a bed, so we didn't see that much increase there, and we actually saw the unit cost go down because simplicity to build. Now, if you lose the density, if you go to a proposed project in 2026 at 54 beds, you see the per bed price go up and the unit cost go up to $267,000. So what does this all mean? Factors, we need density, we need simplicity to build all together to bring that cost down. So I know Montgomery doesn't see a lot of multifamily in the county area, so I wanted to show you all single family and townhomes. I asked my realtor friends to pull up MLS data. So on this left side, if there's a lot that can be built with a house on it, what was it sold for in MLS in 2016? On average, it was about $95,775. Just 9 years later, we see that go up about $30,000 to $126,260. So now I go to the developer and builders. If it has utilities, if it's a developed lot, what are you seeing when you purchase a lot to build on or when you develop a lot? In Montgomery County, the average was $145,000 for a single family lot and $75,000 for a townhome. Blacksburg a little larger at $155,000 and for a single family and $100,000 for a townhome. And Christiansburg, $140,000 for a single family, $100,000 for a townhome. Now, we picture an affordable home at $200,000, $250,000, but before you dig a foundation in, if you're at $140,000, how do you get there with the cost of bricks and sticks? So that's what builders are dealing with. Now, you can get lots for cheaper in Montgomery County, but maybe they don't have utilities. Maybe you have to put a septic field in, maybe you have to put a well in, and we average that out to where we're still getting to about that 140 number. A builder reached out to me and said, well, let's show you a more current example of this. So those developed lots you saw in 2025, those were built 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're being built on, the lot was developed 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're being built on by homes. So if they're studying a project now to develop, what costs are they seeing? So this was a real example. They got the land for 7.5, 50 acres, 150 lots, so that raw land is $50,000 per lot. To develop the lot, we're averaging $107,000 per lot in grading, utilities, et cetera, to develop that lot. And then overhead, we didn't put any profit in this. We just said, if you just were able to pay your staff and get out of it, what's that percentage? And that's what that is. It comes out to $180,000, what they're seeing in this project to develop lots. So, you might be thinking, okay, costs are up. I'm still seeing a lot of construction activity. Well, the data doesn't really support that. And the MSA, apparently y'all had a huge boom in the early 2000s of 946 building permits that were pulled. So that's a builder going to the building official saying, I have a plan, give me a permit, and pulling the permit and building the house. Obviously, the recession dipped that down tremendously, and we stabilized a little bit. But in 2024, we saw a 12% decrease in building permits being pulled. 2025, we saw another 12% decrease. This is purely reduced lots, more costly, and we're not providing enough inventory for what the county needs. So I promise you, I want to just spout a bunch of numbers and give doom and gloom. I want to talk about how we're trying to address some of these things, and this is how we're doing it legislatively. These are real bills that are in right now. I'm giving you a little update on some of them. HB 1144 gives localities the option to reimburse connection fees to first-time home buyers and waive fees for affordable housing projects. This is currently awaiting the governor's signature, but it is a great way to reduce costs for first-time home buyers. Excuse me. HB 1212 requires localities over 20,000 people to create a small lot ordinance. This is also awaiting governor's signature. It's a great way to bring in more housing. HB 806 allows EDAs to issue bonds for new residential projects, also awaiting governor's signature. We think of EDAs as providing financing for industry, but when we bring in those businesses, those people need homes too, right? So this is a great way to provide low interest bond financing in order to finance and reduce the cost of development. HB 196, which is something Steve and I have really been working on, has been amended to be just a small pilot program. But the vision of this is an infrastructure fund where localities can apply for funding and get a large sum of money to put in sewer, water, roads, et cetera, to reduce that upfront lot cost to bring house prices down. Now that's state level. What can we do locally? I think we need more by right options. We need mixed type housing, apartments, townhomes, single family, small lots, all together by right. That gives more density for builders and developers. Blacksburg has started to do this with their small lot ordinance, and Pulaski to an extent. I was feeding my son, 10-month son, at 2 a.m. the other night, and I had this fever dream of what can we do when we're mandating a lot of things. We want affordable housing, we want X and Y. What are we doing to incentivize this? So, my thoughts of this are, we want affordable housing. If you make 10% of your units affordable, 80% AMI or less, you get a 20% bed density or density bonus. We want parks and we want trails. If you do that, we get a 10% density bonus. I feel like we need to find a way to incentivize and bring in builders, to incentivize them to build more lots and also meeting the county's goals rather than mandating it. And finally, I think we need to find a way to say yes. If we can't do it by right, oftentimes they're going in front of you for rezoning. And neighborhoods are coming out, they don't want change, et cetera. But we all recognize that housing is a huge issue. So we need to find a way to say yes. Make it clear, make it easy to understand how to get to a yes so that we can all work together to improve housing. Steve and I know this is a complex issue, and many people have differing opinions on how to resolve it. We felt it was critical for us to be transparent with you on the true cost of construction. He and I are available any day of the week to sit down with you or staff to further brainstorm some of these ideas and solutions and develop a plan to help tackle housing in our area. But I appreciate your time, and I hope this was informative. Thank you.
Sorry, I turned my mic off.
You're good.
Thank you, sir. We might have some questions for you, but I'll start just, I know this is a show that you're taking on the road, correct? You're going to Blacksburg and Christiansburg to kind of start the conversation with all three of us?
Yeah, this isn't appointed, this is just for the county, that we wanted to bring this to all localities. We're going in front of Blacksburg next Tuesday at their work session, and then we're hoping to schedule Christiansburg here soon. So we're going to all localities in Montgomery.
Well, we're glad you came to us first. And then I just want to follow up with one additional question. This slide where it has the cost per lot, $180,550, that's the cost per lot before any type of home building, correct?
Correct. Before
Okay.
you dig a foundation or anything to put the water, sewer, et cetera in, for future projects, we're projecting $180,000 per lot.
Okay, I think that's a very important number for us to all be aware of. Let's see if we have any questions, if you've got a few more minutes just to hang out with us.
Of course.
Supervisor Kitts, did you have any questions? Supervisor King? Do we have any questions down here? All right. Oh. Vice Chair Fidzikowski?
I appreciate you coming, and that was a lot of valuable information. I'm sure many people that are watching this meeting are learning something, just like I did from your information. And so I really appreciate you all coming out and doing that for us. I also wanted to thank you and your group for coming out to the Montgomery Regional Solid Waste Authority last year and listening to us, and hopefully that your group would utilize that facility more, which increases the economies of scale, which helps the owners of it, which are everybody in this room and all the citizens here. It reduces their cost for that too. So appreciate all the things that you do for us quietly.
Yeah.
And my thanks as well to you in particular and to the New River Valley Home Builders Association for their presence and ongoing advocacy in our whole community. Really, really appreciate it. And seeing nothing else, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Have a good evening. Okay, and our next presentation this evening is the county's fiscal year 2027 proposed budget presentation. Angie, I'll let you kick that off
Okay, thank you. I think Vicki and Chris are passing
from the giant books.
documents around. I'll get started while they do that. Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Montgomery County proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget. This budget reflects the vision and priorities we've identified together for Montgomery County. It also reflects collaboration between county and school staff throughout the budget development process. We have strategically scheduled the joint meeting with the school board to be held a week from this evening after the presentation of my proposed budget tonight and before you're scheduled to set an advertised tax rate at your March 23rd meeting. The joint meeting on March 16th will provide an opportunity to discuss the needs of both the public schools and other government functions. The FY27 proposed budget continues to prioritize education and public safety while also addressing the broader needs of Montgomery County. Although it was not possible to fund every request, each was evaluated and prioritized based on needs and available resources. For FY27, I'm proposing a budget of $285.7 million. I'm recommending a real estate tax rate increase of 5 cents, bringing the rate to 81 cents per $100 of assessed value. To provide some additional context, in order to meet the request received from all county departments and other agencies, including the school board's proposed operating budget, the real estate tax rate would need to be 88 cents per $100 of assessed value. That is an increase of 12 cents over the existing real estate tax rate. Before we review the details of the proposed FY27 budget, I want to provide you with a few key highlights. In keeping with the board's identified priorities, I'm proposing that $190.7 million, or 67% of the total budget, be allocated to the Montgomery County Public Schools. With the remaining approximately 1/3 of the total budget, I'm recommending 11% be allocated to public safety. The remaining 22% is allocated for all other county functions, including general government, health and welfare, parks and recreation, libraries, judicial administration, general services, utilities, community development, county debt service, and capital projects, and other agencies. With the 22% of the budget that encompasses general county functions, I've identified 4 core areas essential to county operations. Providing superior services to our citizens who depend on us for responsive, effective government. Valuing our employees who deliver services each day and are crucial to our organization's success. Maintaining our financial strength and security so we can meet today's needs while planning responsibly for the future. Continuing to prioritize our infrastructure to ensure our facilities and systems support a growing and evolving community. You have consistently supported county employees, and for that, we are all grateful. You demonstrated this commitment by working with me to implement a strategic multi-year staffing plan beginning in fiscal year 25. As new position requests are made each year, they are evaluated and prioritized in an effort to balance service demands with available funding, facility capacity, and long-term sustainability. For fiscal year 27, departments submitted position requests for 22.75 new positions. Each position requested had merit and would support our core areas of focus. However, not all positions could be recommended at this time. Consistent with the strategic approach, I'm recommending 6 new full-time positions and 1 new part-time position. Also, in an effort to remain competitive with the New River Valley, and especially with our neighboring localities, I'm proposing a 3% compensation increase for county employees. Both the towns and the schools typically implement 2 annual pay increases for employees, a July 1 across-the-board adjustment and a step or merit-based increase. While the county does not currently provide a formal mid-year merit or step increase, we're in the process of designing and implementing a system for next year. Providing a 3% increase for county employees on July 1st will be comparable to both the annual and step increases typically offered by surrounding localities, keeping our compensation competitive. We also have compensation plan funding available to address reclassifications and staffing adjustments. Finally, in December of 2025, the board established a separate classification of personal property for active volunteer fire and rescue members, providing a potential incentive for these volunteers. Further action related to the incentive will be proposed to the board during the budget process. Details of the proposed FY27 budget are outlined in the budget document you've received tonight. And at this time, I would like to invite Mark Magruder, our Director of Management and Budget, to present more details of the Montgomery County proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 budget.
Okay, good evening. Inside your budget books, you will have a copy of my presentation along with a one-sheet budget in brief that details information about the budget. So I want to give a little background information on the county's budget process. The county's budget is built with 2 major components, the base budget and addenda. The purpose of the 2 components is to clearly separate the base of operations from the new items or new initiatives that are added to the budget each year. In November of each year, county divisions are provided with base budget targets, which are basically the estimated minimum cost of providing continued services and operations. It shows how much it costs in the next fiscal year to operate the same programs provided in the current fiscal year. The base budget target provides a base of personnel costs and operating costs for the upcoming fiscal year. And so what we do is we take our personnel costs, we update the current cost of positions and benefits for the year, we cap operation and maintenance at the current level, and then we remove one-time items out of the base budget. Most divisions do not have a capital outlay portion of their budget because it's mostly one-time in nature. However, there are a few divisions that have a permanent capital outlay allocation for equipment that is purchased annually. Examples include vehicles and computer replacements. Addenda items are for new or expanded initiatives. Requests that are above the base budget target are shown as addenda. Before recommending funding for any addenda request, the base budget is challenged to determine if the request can be funded within the base. In January, the county's leadership team meets and holds an internal budget review process that requires each department present and justify its budget request to the team. This process ensures all requests undergo a rigorous evaluation before recommendations for general government functions are presented to the board. This next slide shows the detail of what was requested this year for the fiscal year 27 budget. On the county side, the county received $8.3 million worth of requests. On the school board side, the school board's budget request was right at $8.3 million. That included $7.2 million for school operations and a little over $1 million for the school nutrition fund. As I shared with you in February, the estimated new undesignated revenue for fiscal year 27 was just over $1 million. Total requests, both county and the schools, were right at $16.6 million. Again, we had an estimated new revenue total of just over $1 million. The difference between the funds requested and the new revenue was right at $15.6 million. Full funding of these requests would require a real estate tax rate increase of 12 cents. The next slide shows the revenue estimates for both the county and the schools. For the county, there's a $4 million increase in new revenue. I want to point out that $2.3 million, almost $2.4 million, is from the PSA to cover the new utilities division for fiscal year 27. For the schools, there's a $3.8 million increase in revenue, of which $3.6 million is in new state revenues. The proposed budget includes a 5-cent tax rate increase, which adds $6.4 million in new monies for fiscal year 27. Next slide shows the distribution of new revenue for the proposed budget as presented in the budget document. Undesignated revenue is $7.4 million. Designated revenue total $6.8 million for a total of $14.2 million in new revenue. As you can see, the school's allocation is 56% of that money, and the county's is 44%. Typically, the county only sees a modest increase in designated revenues each year. Again, that $2.4 million kind of pushes that number up. Of the $3 million in designated revenue, again, that's money that is coming from the PSA to support the new utilities division. This next chart shows the historical funding allocation between the county and the schools. The county has consistently provided a significant portion of the total budget to MCPS. If you go back to 2022, we were roughly providing 71% of the total budget to the schools, and the county was getting around 29%. For many years, that number has fluctuated around 70-30. So historically, 2/3 of the budget has been allocated to the schools and 1/3 going to the county. In fiscal year 23, the county began providing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week fire and EMS coverage in eastern Montgomery and the Roanoke area by utilizing career staff. The commitment to providing this service to citizens has necessitated changes to the traditional split of the total budget between the schools and the county. And as you can see, in 26 and 27, we're at 67 and 33%. This next slide shows two charts comparing fiscal year 22's approved budget with the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. And this shows the shift between the schools from 71 to 67%. As you can see from these charts, the allocation of the county's budget reflects the board's top priorities of education and public safety. This next slide shows where the revenue comes from, what sources make up the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Total budgeted revenues are $285.7 million. Designated revenues, which are earmarked for specific purposes, total 43.1%. Of the county's undesignated revenue, real estate taxes make up nearly 36% of the total budget. The next slide shows the county's undesignated revenue. Undesignated revenues are unrestricted revenues, and they can be used by the board for just about any purpose. Real estate taxes make up the largest revenue source for the county at 63.1%. This next slide shows where the money goes. Total budgeted expenditures are $285.7 million, and the schools receive 67% of the total budget. Next slide shows the historical funding from the county to the school operating budget. And this chart shows you information over the past 14 years. The transfer for fiscal year 27 is set at $69.4 million. And basically, this chart shows a steady increase in local funding from year to year. The next slide shows the county school revenue increase by category from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 27. New county dollars total $4.1 million. As you can see in the chart, the amount of support in blue has increased each year since fiscal year 22. Angie already highlighted some of these items that are listed as county addenda, but here's a comprehensive list. I'll point out a few things. $4.1 million is added to the transfer to the school operating fund, 3% compensation increase at $1.3 million for county employees, and roughly $600,000 for new position. Total increases for fiscal year 27 total $8.2 million. Talk a little bit about positions. I'll start with the fiscal year 26 off-cycle positions. These were positions that were added to the base budget in 27. There were 3 positions that were added due to requirements by the state. 1 position was added in the clerk of the circuit court that was added by the compensation board. 1 new position was added to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And then 1 position was added to social services. That was a federal grant that was supporting family services. Locally, there were 22.5 positions added. These have no cost to the county. $2.4 million that I talked about earlier in local recovered cost revenue supports 22 positions for the utilities division from the PSA. And then the library's part-time classified position of 0.5 of an FTE, that was actually a position that was added in last year's budget, but when it was originally requested, it was requested as a non-classified position, and then later was requested to be classified. So all we did was change the classification, but there was no dollars to the budget. New positions for fiscal year 27. As Angie explained, we have a multi-year strategic plan in place to address staffing needs for the county. For fiscal year 27, the proposed budget adds 6.75 FTEs. The Director of Real Estate position is added as the county moves to biennial real estate assessments. The Finance Manager position is added to supplement existing staff and to assist in completing financial statement audits. The Adoption Foster Coordinator position is added to focus on dog fosters and adoptions. In General Services, funds are added to cover the cost of 1 part-time building inspector, 1 solid waste manager position, and 1 HVAC technician position. Finally, 1 additional family services specialist position is added to provide services and assistance to the adult population as a result of new guardianship requirements by the state. Total increase is 6.75 FTE. Next slide shows the total proposed budget. Again, it's $285.7 million. The total increase is $14.9 million over last year's budget. In the general government fund, again, 2.4 is included for the utility division. This next slide shows budgeted expenditures from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 26, or fiscal year 27. Again, the total proposed budget for fiscal year 27 is $285.7 million. Talk a little bit about next steps. As Angie already stated, there's a joint meeting with the school system on March 16th. Establish the advertised tax rate and budget on March 23rd. The public hearing was moved from April 2nd to April 9th due to some additional advertising requirements. And then the plan is to adopt the budget and tax rate on April 20th. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to thank you and all the other staff. Lots of people helped put this together. Lots of people spent many hours working through these numbers, working through the process, and helping us make it look pretty. So I really do appreciate all the work that went into this. I also wanted to add that with this document that we have, that's a one-page summary, we have these available for the board and also for citizens if they would like to see them. And we'll be able to share those as we move forward into the other meetings that we're going to have related to the budget. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great, thank you all. Typically for this presentation, when we receive the budget for the first time, it's a fairly large document. And so we take some time to read and absorb that information and then come back. We have several meetings on the calendar, so we have the opportunity to come back several times with questions. And so we are then ready to move to our next item on the agenda. Okay? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Angie. And then the next item on our agenda is public hearings. And tonight, we have a public hearing. We have 3 different resolutions on our new business section that we have to vote on separately, but they're all very similar. So the public hearing is regarding temporarily changing the A3, E3, and F3 precinct polling places from Squires Student Center on Virginia Tech's campus to McComas Hall. This is for the April 21st, 2026 special election only and is due to some construction and renovation that's occurring in Squires Hall, so they are not able to hold the elections there. Do I need to add anything else before I open the public hearing?
No, I think you covered that well,
Okay.
thanks.
We've gone back and forth on this one a couple of times. We scheduled them, had to reschedule them, so we're here now to hear these public hearings. I'm going to go ahead and review the guidelines for public address. We do have them on the screens around the room, but the guidelines for public address and for public hearing are the same, so I'm going to go ahead and review those guidelines and then open the public hearing. A public address sign-up sheet was available outside the meeting room. Speakers can come forward after anybody that signed up has already had their chance to speak. Each speaker has 4 minutes, whether speaking as an individual or a representative, and all comments must be directed to the chair and other supervisors from the speaker's lectern at the front of the room. Please begin by stating your name and address or where in the county you reside, and debate between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Speakers may leave any written statements and/or comments to the supervisors with the board clerk at the end of the row here, and then speakers will be judged out of order should they engage in personal attacks, use profanity or abusive language, or debate with the audience and not address the supervisors. Finally, accepted etiquette is to not applaud or make loud responses. So first, we will open the public hearing. We didn't have anybody to sign up to speak to the temporary change in the polling locations for this public hearing, but if there's anybody in the room that would like to come forward to talk about these polling locations, please come forward now. Seeing nobody, we're going to close the public hearing and move to public address. And this is the time where anybody can speak on any issue for 4 minutes. Anything that's kind of going on. So we do have one speaker that has signed up to speak. Ms. Anna Vijayan has signed up to speak this evening. And then after she is done, then anybody else that wants to speak can come forward. Welcome.
Do y'all have my handouts?
Oh, yes, they're coming.
Okay.
We'll wait to start your time until everybody has it.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Anna Vijayan, and I live in District A. And I'm here tonight to talk about trends in per pupil expenditures for MCPS and school divisions across the state. Now, I understand that if you fund the entire proposed FY27 school budget, then the raw dollar amount of that budget will have increased by 21% since FY24, which is a 21% increase over a period of 3 years, which is a lot. But I'd like to convince you that this is not a case of school budget asks spiraling out of control. Rather, it's a case of the schools asking for what they absolutely need to keep up with the best practices and the ability to compete with other Virginia school districts. If you look back over time, you'll notice that, in fact, from FY20 to 24, the MCPS budget grew at a significantly slower rate than school budgets across the state, resulting in a widening gap in per pupil expenditures, with MCPS lower than the state. So the first chart shows per pupil expenditures for general operations, that is, per pupil expenditures from the school operating fund. The red line, the top line, shows the budget trend for per pupil expenditures for all school operations across the state. And the blue and purple lines show per pupil expenditures for school operations at MCPS. So why are there two lines for MCPS, a blue and a purple? Well, state data covers only through FY24. The purple line for MCPS is based on state data, which is in Table 15 of the State Superintendent's Report. Now, that table isn't out yet for subsequent years, so I needed to calculate the appropriate amounts for MCPS for those last 3 years using local data. I actually did calculations not just for the last 3 years using local data, but for each year from FY20 through FY27, and those are the blue, that's the blue line there. And so I was pleased that I was able to recreate the purple line with our local data, and that's the blue line. I'm saying I recreated it well because the purple and blue lines almost overlap. So I feel confident that the estimates for the 3 years where the state numbers aren't out yet are pretty accurate. So let's see. So you can see that through FY24, which is where the red line stops, the MCPS line is lower than the state line, meaning that MCPS per pupil expenditures were lower than state per pupil expenditures, and the gap was widening. So MCPS per pupil expenditures were losing ground relative to state expenditures. Now, MCPS per pupil expenditures did grow a bit faster in FY25 and 26, but if you eyeball the red line to extend it, because it will keep growing through those next 3 years, the gains that we've made in the last 2 years are likely not enough to close that gap between MCPS and the state. And that's where FY27 budget comes in. Now it's a big leap in funding, but if you eyeball that red line, you're still going to be lower than the state, and you're still not going to be as close. Your gap is still going to be wider than it was back in FY20 and FY21. So I'm asking you to approve the full budget and get us closer to those state per pupil expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was the only person that we had sign up outside the room this evening. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward and address the board on any topic? Welcome.
Crystal Mello, live in Charlesville. I just want to give y'all an update on the MVP
Can you
boost.
step just a teensy bit closer to the mic? There you go.
Just want to give y'all an update on the MVP boost. They sent their second newsletter out last week. And I just want to point out, and I'm not sure, I know y'all intervened, y'all should be getting it, but I don't know if it just goes to the lawyer, and if he gives y'all, do you forward it to him? I don't know if no. Well, he could, and then y'all would know what I'm talking about when I come up here every 2 weeks to update you. You know, they're very proud of this newsletter. It's got a cute graph on here showing the timeline, and they point out their meaningful engagement and all that, and how they've been just a great neighbor to everybody, and how they want to keep everybody so well informed. But on that graph, they did leave out about the DEQ, the public hearings that'll come with that, and I just think that's a little rude not to add that. It seems it was intentional, But I just want y'all to see how we have to dig for information or be very aware or constantly watching everything, because even what they're sending out to the people that live within 3 miles, they're not including how they can fully engage the way they brag about in their flyer or their newsletter. I'm sorry, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward to address the board? Welcome.
Hi, my name is Joshua Van. I live in District F. Here to talk a little bit more about the proposed MVP Boost expansion project and the Swan compressor station that MVP wants to build in Elliston, and in particular, some of the Elliston residents' concerns about Norfolk Southern trains being built up in front of road crossings that makes it sort of unsafe and unable to operate traffic for folks living on that side of the highway. Back in December, on the 15th, a number of Eastmont residents came to communicate those concerns that, NS trains were broken apart and blocking Cove Hollow Road. Cletus Bohan among those, testifying that this, often prevented him from getting to and from work on time. And I wanted to uplift, in particular, a letter and a comment from Penny Artis Nunez, who is also an Eastmont resident and worked for Norfolk Southern for more than 30 years and is retired now from NS. But she wrote a letter to, I think, CC to all the board members and also to the county administrator and emergency services coordinator on February 3rd to address some comments that were made about whether or not those trains were actually blocking. I think, the best way I can do this is try to read as much of her letter as I can. And I'm not sure that she's heard back from anyone about it. I checked with her today, and I don't think she had. So this is from February 3rd from Penny Artis Nunez to the county administrator and emergency services coordinator with board members CC'd. I'm writing this email to respond and correct Supervisor Fidzikowski's supervisor report statement on January 12th, 26 about Cove Hollow Road blockage by NS trains. He states that as he drives by to Roanoke, he has not observed the trains blocking Cove Hollow Road, though he has witnessed other road crossings blocked. And she timestamps that comment from the document from the meeting. And I'm just going to sort of read excerpts from this. Supervisor Fidzikowski stated that folks at the last meeting that brought up a railroad crossing off of Route 460 to Cove Hollow Road in Elliston area. I haven't spoken on this, but I have on a regular basis gone up and down 460, seen the train stopped. The train sometimes sits there for 3 to 4 hours because I've gone to Roanoke and come back and the train is still sitting there. It does not block that intersection. Penny says I need to correct this statement regarding Cove Hollow Road. The trains that Supervisor Fidzikowski sees parked are due to a crew change of hours of service, that's HOS, and they do not block Cove. When the HOS are expired for the crew, the train has to stop. This allows them to plan to not block the road crossings. However, I'm talking about the trains that are stopped and blocking Cove Hollow Road crossing number 469, 404U for convenience so that the Roanoke Yard is less congested for trains getting in and out. NS wants to maximize the operational performance of the trains and crew, so they push the trains as close as they can get to the yard irrespective of state law. That states that they are never allowed to block road crossings for more than 5 minutes without a train break. So in short, I'm asking that maybe this issue be revisited by the board. I understand the board is an intervener with the FERC on the Boost project, and that it is probably going to, this is something that is happening, is going on, and will require some advocacy from the board, probably on behalf of folks living in the Eastmont area.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to come forward and speak? Welcome, sir.
Yes, ma'am. name's David Van Hooser. I'm property down Pollard Road. I understand Mr. Lawrence had some information for me. I'll come in here to hear it.
Okay. I think he has a card for you, and then if you wanted to stay, he can speak with you after the meeting.
Okay. You say a card?
A business card, just so you have his contact information, and then he can speak with you afterwards. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to come forward to address the board? Seeing no one, we're going to move on from public address. We do not have an addendum this evening. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
First item of new business, like I said, when we had the public hearings, we had one public hearing for 3 actions, and so now we're going to take 3 separate actions. So the first is the ordinance to temporarily change the A3 precinct polling place from Squire Student Center to McComas Hall due to renovations. Is there a motion regarding A3?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. The next is shockingly similar. This is the ordinance to temporarily change the E3 precinct polling place from Squire Student Center to McComas Hall. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
All right, and triplets here. So the third one is the ordinance to temporarily change the F3 precinct polling place from Squire Student Center to McComas Hall. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts? Aye. Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and then the next item of new business is an appropriation for the Longshot McCoy Fire and Rescue signage. This was requested by Supervisor Grafsky that we outfit that facility with signs similar to those seen at other fire and rescue buildings across the county. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, let's think about it.
I appreciate y'all supporting this, and I know Chief Sheeler does as well.
Thanks for bringing it up. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item is an appropriation. It's a transfer within MCPS funds to the School Nutrition Fund. This is related to school breakfasts. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just one thing.
Sure.
They want to move from operation budget to nutrition, right?
Yes, and I'll let Angie.
When the Board of Supervisors approved the budget and appropriated the funding for fiscal year '26, there was a procedural accounting kind of entry that needed to be made, and this is just cleaning that up. So what happens is we transfer the money to the school operating fund, and then the school operating fund transfers it to the school nutrition fund, so all those costs can be in that
It should
school
have been
nutrition.
to the nutrition instead of
Yes.
operation to start with.
Right, that's it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item is a Montgomery County Public Schools supplemental appropriation. This is for school capital improvements, and this is out of the bond proceeds. We do have a resolution and a list of the funding requests. The school board has approved this request. So the total is $495,500. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to know about the sinkhole at Blacksburg High School, like where it is, and is it going to be a problem for anything? And the only reason I'm asking that is from my memory of what happened to the old Blacksburg High School.
And I think we have Mr. Brown here. And I'm not sure of your director of facilities? Director of facilities, and he can handle that question. And is it Dr. Brown or Mr. Brown?
Doctor.
Dr. Brown, my apologies, sir.
No problem. The sinkhole at Blacksburg High School is it's near the student parking lot, near Bruin Lane. It's not jeopardizing any structures at this time. We were made aware of it right around Christmas and began investigating it. And the money that we're asking for right now is just the first phase. It's actually to see what we're dealing with so we can come up with a plan. We've engaged a civil engineer and a geotechnical engineer to help us with that. So what we're asking for is the ERI examination to see where all the little fissures and everything are. But we currently have it blocked off. So for safety, we have an actual fence around it right now. I'll try to describe best of where it's at. It's approximately 25 to 30 yards above the student parking lot nearest Bruin Lane.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not near any buildings or anything like that.
So the idea is to sort of evaluate it and see if it needs to be mitigated in any way. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, we're going to evaluate it. It will need repair. We just need to figure out what type of repair that is. So we want to investigate, make sure we have the correct plan before we go out and start filling the sinkhole. But we have been made aware that it will continue to grow. So.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, thank you for that, because when I saw that, I was, of course, worried. So
Yes,
thank you.
it's not near any structures, and it's quite a distance away from any parking lots or roads, but it will continue to grow. So, any additional questions?
Yeah, just hang out with us for a minute.
Yeah, I didn't want you to walk off and then have to come back. Now, I don't think you were here at the time, but if my memory serves me correct, did we do some roofing replacement at Kipps Elementary last summer?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And we just didn't install snow guards at that time, or this is
To my knowledge,
expansion of that? Or?
To my knowledge, there was no mention of snow guards needed, and the roof that the snow fell off of was a metal roof. Once we received information about that, snow falling off the roof at Kipps, we went around to all of our facilities to do an evaluation to see what exactly we had going on. We have snow guards at the majority of our schools, and the other schools have a shingle roof with a pitch that does not promote the shedding.
Much.
It was this past snow, or the snowcrete event, as we call it, was an oddity, but still, exists a possibility the snow could come off, and we'd like to address that with the snow guards.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
I don't disagree with that.
just a step further, at the operations facility, we actually have a slate roof on that building. And to my knowledge, it's been an issue in the past, but it wasn't addressed, and we'd like to address that now with some snow guards. Now, that's a little bit higher because it's a slate roof, but we do believe that it will help in safety.
No, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Do we have any other questions for Dr. Brown? Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grasky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMott?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and our final new business item this evening, I believe Supervisor Biggs, you brought this to us, correct?
Right.
This is a proclamation on Problem Gambling Awareness Month for March 2026. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Would you like to say anything about that?
Just that Mr. Wade from New River Valley Community Services asked if we would do this. And so I think a lot of localities are doing it. So thank you for getting it on the agenda.
Of course, and I think as more and more casinos are opening across the Commonwealth, it is something to be aware of. Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grasky?
Aye.
Ms. Karan?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and now we'll move on to reports. County Attorney's report.
No report, Madam Chair.
Disappointing. County Administrator's report.
Already provided a fairly large report, so I
Good.
will just update you with a couple dates. We already mentioned Monday, March 16th will be the joint meeting with the schools here in the Government Center in the MP2, and that will begin with dinner at 6:30, and the meeting will start at 7 p.m., and that will be live streamed as well and also available later for folks to watch if they would choose to do that. And then there are 2 onward events this coming week as well. One is on Wednesday evening. It begins at 5:30, and there's one on Thursday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you need more information about that, you can let us know, but I think everyone received those invitations as well. That's all I have.
That was a small one. Thank you. And now we'll move on to board members' reports, and I will start with Supervisor Biggs.
I don't have a report tonight, but I do want to thank staff for organizing this budget. And for some reason, it looked bigger than last year, but it looks like it's still got, 300 pages, right? It's like, and I
Right.
think that was, like 285, and I think last year it was,
It's close to the same.
yeah.
We tried to make it so it will stay together bigger,
Oh,
better,
yeah.
so it might look bigger.
Well, thank you for all the work, because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. I do appreciate the staff.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. Supervisor Grafsky?
Sure. I was sad that our representative from the American Red Cross couldn't be here because I was so excited to share that I donated my 44th pint of blood last week at the Red Cross. What's that? Look pale? No, now we have these longer days and sunshine and warmth, so that'll change a little bit. That, and then also last week, I had the opportunity to attend Dr. Gempel's final in-person community presentation at Price's Fork Elementary. So it was great to hear from him. It was great to hear from the parents, the staff, the principal at Price's Fork, talking about the things that are going well in MCPS, the things that they want to see changed. Dr. Gempel is very engaging. I know several of you have been to some of his other presentations, but it was just really nice to kind of see him engage and just have some real conversations with folks. So enjoyed that. Looking forward to the outcome of all of those meetings. But that's all I have for this evening.
Great. Supervisor Karan?
I had a nice invitation. I received nice invitation from Margaret Biggs' playground opening. They had 2 playgrounds built, one on the lower end and the one in the upper, one for younger kids, one for older kids. And I think the older kids is done with the county money. And it's a beautiful setup, and they're very thankful. They had popcorn, a lot of little people, which was nice to see little people. I haven't seen little people lately. So I enjoy chatting with the parents, and the structure is safe and beautiful, and they are all very thankful for the board's approval. And then I had a school visit with Dr. Gimble. I visited CHS, CMS, CES, and CPS. That was actually a long morning. From 8:30 to 1:30, we toured the CHS to first, and that took a little longer, obviously, because we visited the construction site, and it is going very well. It's going to be very nice, and everybody that toured also very thankful. And then I attended, I think, with Miss Biggs to Family Night at Falling Branch at one point, and the Chamber's Leadership Conference. That's all.
You've been busy. Great. Supervisor King?
Don't have no report, but remember, there's a burn ban on Don't start outdoor fires until 4 p.m., 12 a.m. You cannot put no more fuel on the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. We can always count on you. Supervisor Kitts.
I'm going to go in a completely different direction right now. But NCAA tournament's coming up. Tech women are on the bubble, so hopefully, fingers crossed, they get in. They'll get announced on the 15th. For the men's team, starts out as a proud Hokie alum. I'm just kind of pushing this. Starts the ACC tournament, so hopefully they can pull through the ACC and go that way. I've never gone sports, I always stay government, but I'm pulling for the Hokies this time because they're on the bubble right now and they need to get through the tournament. So, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Vice Chair Fizikowski.
I don't really have a report, but I will say that I'm a little disappointed that we're proposing a 5-cent tax increase this year. I recall that last year we were told that the 1-cent increase was only $20 a month on their mortgage payment for a $300,000 home. And so my math is not really good, but I'm thinking this would be a $100 increase on their mortgage payment, and I hope citizens come and share what they think about it. So that's all I got.
And I will follow up with some sports news. This is probably one of the very few times that I will ever have anything sporting related. But Virginia Tech men's wrestling just became a repeat ACC champion over the weekend. So they had a really, really great season again this year. So congratulations to them. And I am not seeing any other comments. So this meeting is adjourned.